From two pals reaching NBA superstardom together to a friendship turned sour, here's how Michael Jordan's advice helped Charles Barkley. Jordan and Barkley both saw their careers peak around the same time, which led to a staggering increase in both of their incomes. But MJ was smart with his money, and when I say smart, I mean really smart. Did you know his net worth stands at a whopping $2 billion? But MJ didn't get to that point by just letting his money sit in his bank account. He had to get creative, and here's a fun fact that'll shock you. Jordan's NBA salary earned him roughly $90 million, and from there he jumped to earning more than $2 billion. Pretty impressive, don't you think? See what I mean about getting creative? And Chuck was really lucky to have a guy like MJ at his side, especially when he signed a deal with Nike back in 1984. The two former NBA champs might have an infamous feud going on, but that doesn't mean Jordan didn't look out for his pal when they were on good terms. Jordan went out of his way to help Barkley, and if it wasn't for him, Chucky's net worth wouldn't be anywhere near the current 70 million big ones it is today. And who knows, considering Barkley's lavish spending habits and gambling addiction, he probably would have filed for bankruptcy by now. But luckily for Chuck, Jordan had his back. On April 8th, during an episode of The Steam Room podcast, sportscaster Ernie Johnson and Sir Charles were chilling with Ben Affleck, who recently directed and starred in the movie Air, which follows MJ's revolutionary partnership with Nike. In the episode, Barkley says that Jordan's advice has helped him to this day and talks about the time they were golfing one summer when Jordan asked him about his Nike contract. Ever since Chuck signed his deal with Nike back in 1984, he earned around $3 million a year from the deal, which is a whole lot of cash, but Jordan wasn't having any of it. Why stop there when you could easily make 10 times that amount, right? That's just the way MJ's brain works. After all, he's a businessman through and through. MJ reviewed Chuck's contract and figured that $3 million coming into his buddy's account each year was nothing more than an incentive for him to spend it. So MJ told Barkley he should invest it in Nike itself. Jordan told Chuck, "Tell Nike you want $1 million and you want the rest in stock options." Barkley was confused and asked MJ, "What are you talking about?" But Chuck knew better than to question his iconic friend's advice, so he ran it by his people and they agreed with Jordan's suggestion. Sometime later, Chuck started seeing some real money coming in and got himself a pretty sweet deal, didn't he? When Barkley signed with Nike, the stock options were available at only $35. Get where I'm going with that? That's absolutely peanuts compared to what they're worth now. So it's no surprise to see the former Phoenix Suns legend raking in big money soon after. Now, if this deal worked out so well for Chuck, you can only imagine how much profit Jordan made from it. Did you know that Nike had a huge role in making MJ the first NBA player to become a billionaire? Their deal was so lucrative that they even made a movie about it. How awesome is that? Barkley's deal didn't make him a billionaire, but he's still happy about how it turned out. The star said, "It was truly an honor for a growing global company to sign a small-town kid from Leeds, Alabama. His first shoe deal came in 1992 with Air Force Max CB. The Hall of Famer went on to have 7 signature sneakers under his deal." Sounds pretty successful, right? And maybe if he and Jordan were still friends, MJ probably would have sent more wisdom his way. There was a time when this dynamic duo were best buddies. They'd play golf together, train together, and of course, give each other financial advice. Alright, let me scratch that. The whole advice part was actually Michael Jordan's domain. But you get the idea, right? Their relationship went downhill, and now they're basically strangers. If that seems dramatic, believe me, I'm not kidding. Have you seen the two of them together at an event? No? Exactly. It's as if they're giant blocks of ice between them. But let me just add this here, whatever they do, it just ends up being great. They were the greatest duo in the NBA. Today, Chuck's one of the greatest commentators, and Jordan's a great businessman. So is it really surprising that their feud's considered to be one of the greatest in NBA history? The two have been beefing around since 2012, and it's still going strong. That's right, these two men are nothing if not consistent. Here's a refresher on their feud for you. The two Hall of Famers had a competitive on-court relationship, but once they left basketball behind, they were inseparable. 2012 was definitely a tough year, not because everyone thought that the world would end, but because because we lost our all-time fave NBA duo. In an interview with ESPN, Barkley raised some concerns about Jordan as a general manager of the Charlotte Bobcats, and mind you, whatever he said was a popular opinion. And well, it sorta still is, even today. But Jordan didn't want his buddy, of all people, to air his dirty laundry on live radio. Chucky said that Michael's flunkies would never disagree with him, or give him harsh but necessary advice. He thought that this was mainly because he's a powerful personality, and people just want to enjoy the perks that come with being pals with Jordan. So who would want to let go of all the privileges and list everything that the NBA icon was doing wrong? After all, they could lose his friendship, and can you really blame them? I mean, Chuck did come out and criticize Jordan's decision, and look what happened to him. To be fair, if your best friend criticized you in public, it wouldn't feel very good, right? If Chuck had something to say, he could have called Jordan. But no, instead, he told an international audience that he has not done a good job. In his defense, he did add, "I love Michael," before completely annihilating the man's management style. But for some reason, Jordan didn't react so well to that. The basketball legend picked up the phone and went ballistic on his friend. Chuck remembered that the last thing he heard MJ say was, "Mother effer, F you, you're supposed to be my boy." Okay, not gonna lie, that last part did sorta make me feel a little bummed out. But hey, what can you do? During their fight, Chuck kept cool and just said, "Man, I gotta do my job." You can probably see why Jordan hasn't talked to him since then. Honestly though, the two of them really need to put their differences aside and go play golf. Who wouldn't love to see that? But things seem a little bit iffy right now. Barkley has made it pretty clear that he's not reaching out. I guess he'd rather recall those days rather than relive them. And as for Jordan, oh, don't even get started there. The man doesn't talk about their feud. It's almost like he's living in a completely different reality where Barkley doesn't exist. If they're at an event together, then best believe Jordan will be avoiding him as if Chuck's another shoe brand coming to steal him from Nike. So the chances of them reconciling, they're close to zero. Of course, that's not gonna stop Charles from speaking fondly about his old friend. In fact, he's still really thankful for the time they spent together, and how could I forget his financial advice? He still thinks of the champ as the greatest player to ever live, and according to his podcast, he's stoked to see the biographical drama air, which follows his ex-teammate's phenomenal brand deal. He mentioned that it's gonna be a surreal viewing experience because he knows everyone, and Nike signed him up around that time as well, so Barkley knows exactly what happened behind closed doors. And is it just me, or does everyone else also want him to review the movie? I can't wait to hear his thoughts. Maybe going through those memories would make him miss Michael Jordan. After all, their friendship meant a lot to them, and millions of NBA fans too. So from a friendship that turned sour to two pals reaching NBA superstardom together, that's how Michael Jordan's advice helped out Charles Barkley.